Okay, so this is last semester's quest, and a quest is just, I think I'm being clever, a cross between a quiz and a test. Basically, this is not necessarily the halfway point, but after this, we're going to do triangles that are not right angles. So all of the triangles here will be solved using TOA. So if it helps you when you start writing your test or exam or whenever, put TOA at the top so that you remember. It does say to show all work, round all answers. So this is really where you want to make sure that if you're using your phone, if you don't have access to a scientific calculator, that's no problem. It'll still work. You just want to make sure that you know what to do and you know how whatever you're going to use, how it works. Okay. So this question you actually don't have to solve. The students just had to write out the trigonometric ratios, and we're going to use angle A as our reference. So you can label it. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle or the longest side, and then 8 is the opposite side to angle A, and then the side beside it or the adjacent side is 6. You don't have to go in order, but most people would. So we're going to do sine A, cos A, and tan A. Okay, so sine is opposite over hypotenuse, which in this case is 8/10. And I didn't even make them reduce it. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 6/10. And tan is opposite over adjacent, which is 8/6. Okay? No problem. And that was 1 mark each out of 3. Okay. It says solve for the following angles to 1 decimal place. So because you're only doing 1 angle, you can go ahead and I would label the triangle as opposite and adjacent and hypotenuse. So in A, we're doing theta down here at the bottom, which means the 8 is or opposite, and the 5 is the adjacent side. So opposite and adjacent is tan. Okay, so now again, you have a choice here. So depending on what kind of calculator you have, to get rid of the tan and get the theta all by itself or the angle all by itself, we're going to do tan inverse. And some calculators will do brackets for you. So as soon as you push tan inverse, it'll put brackets. So then doing the 8 divided by 5 and the bracket then is easy, but maybe your calculator, it makes more sense to do 8 divided by 5 and then write the tan inverse of that. It doesn't matter. You should get 57.9. Okay, so 1 decimal place, that's 1 decimal place. All right, so in B, now we're solving for this angle up here. So the 6 is the opposite. The 10 is the hypotenuse, the side across from the right angle or the longest side. So we're doing sine. So again, decide for yourself. Are you going to do 6 divided by 10, or does your calculator put brackets and maybe you just want to leave it like that? It's up to you. Okay, so since it says 6 marks, since it says up here, I'll label all sides. I probably gave them a mark for the labeling and then 2 marks for the work. Okay, so this question number 3 is asking for the side length YZ. So I'll just highlight that. That's this side here. Okay, so now we have an angle. So we have 51 and we have the hypotenuse. So then the side over here, this highlighted side, the YZ, that is the opposite side. Okay, so we'll use, again, we'll use sine opposite over hypotenuse. So it says sine 51 opposite over 9. So now we are going to get rid of the 9. We're going to multiply or cross multiply either one of those is fine. Because it does say 1 decimal place, technically that rounds to 7. But if you left it as 6.994, I probably did not take marks off. A couple things. So could you solve for the other angle and then do cos if you wanted to? Sure, solve for angle Y. That's an extra step, but that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do as well. So there are options. Just make sure that you're solving for the correct side. So in these questions, really read the question carefully. Okay, so it says YZ. All right. So now number 4 says solve the following triangle, which means all the side lengths and all the angles. So, and as you go, I would label the triangle. It's at a 6, so maybe that's another clue. You have to do more work. You know, it's up to you. Okay, so angle X is, you can simply do 180 minus 90 minus 36. So that's 54. I would go write it in your triangle so that you know. You can label the hypotenuse, which we need to look for. So if you want to do that one first, so now we have this 18. So you can do 36, use angle Z and 36 degrees, and then that 18 is the opposite side, or you can do 54 and then that would be the adjacent side. Most people, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because you psych yourself out, but you'll do 36 and 18 because maybe you're afraid 54 is wrong, which I guess is valid. So then this is the opposite side. And since we're going to find the hypotenuse, then let's do sine. Okay, so I did this one, to be honest, on purpose this way, because now this is the one where it is a little bit tricky, okay? So the hype's in the bottom, which is a bit of a problem. So some people, if you don't like the sign, then solve for what sine is, or you can leave it in there as sine 36. That's what I would have done, so maybe that's what the notes look like. But then maybe this isn't so scary, okay? So now once you get rid of more of the letters, then we're gonna cross multiply, or we need to multiply the hype to get it out of the bottom. Okay, so now, and then we have to divide. Both sides. I'll rewrite that over here. So hype is going to be 18 divided by 0.5878, which is 30.6. Okay, so that's the hypotenuse. And then the last side we're looking for is adjacent. So again, now we have tons of no, we don't have tons. We could do cos 36, you could do sine 54, or you can do tan tan 36 or tan 54. I'll keep, because I've already highlighted, I'm going to keep 36 and do that one. Okay, so I'm going to call this the adjacent side to 36. I'm going to keep the 18 as the opposite and do tan. Okay, so here we are, same thing again. So this time I'm going to write up here. Sorry, guys. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the tan 36 and I'm not going to solve for it like I did over in the sine one. Okay, so then you can see if you're the kind of person who would rather keep, like not type it in until the end, then you can see what to do. Okay, so again, we have to multiply by adjacent on both sides, so it'll cancel. Okay, and you get 24.8 centimeters. Now, if we had used 54 degrees, the angle X, we could have done tan 54, and then we wouldn't have had to solve for the bottom. So depending on the question, maybe you want to do one thing over the other, but not a big deal, okay? All right, so now there are 2 word problems. So on the quest, what I told my students last semester was, I'll give you the diagram. Because this is a unique semester. I don't know what the end of the unit assignment will look like, but for now, we'll give the diagram and you just have to follow all the correct statements or all the correct procedure when you have a word problem. Okay? So Greg is flying a kite and has released 25 meters of string. His sister is standing 8 meters away below the kite. What is the angle of elevation of the string? Okay? So why I used L is weird, but his sister is standing 8 meters away directly below the kite. So K for kite, and you can think about like if you had a kite like flying up here, okay, on a piece of string. So the string is 25 meters, it's labeled there. And the sister is, for S for sister, directly below the kite. Then you can see the 8 meters should go here. It's standing directly away. And angle of elevation, remember, is always up from a horizontal. Okay, so the horizontal is the flat line. That's, in this case, the ground. Okay, so when you do a word problem, of course, we want a let statement. So let X be, or in this case, maybe you want to use theta. Actually, let's do that. Let theta be the angle of elevation. Whatever you choose, that's why the let statement's so important, right? So then I know what you're thinking. So there's my theta, so the angle of elevation. So now I'm going to label the triangle. We have hype. This is adjacent to the angle. So we have nope, we don't have opposite. Ka, we have adjacent and we have hypotenuse. So we're going to do cos. And again, so you decide, does your calculator let you, or have brackets or not? Are you going to do the 8 divided by 25 first? You should get the same answer. And if you want, try it out and see, right? You can pause the video or whatever. Okay, 71.3 degrees. So then again, make sure you have an answer statement. Therefore, the angle of elevation is 71.3 degrees. Okay, so that was like 8.3. And then this word problem is like 8.5. Okay, so this word problem is worth more because you're going to have to show more work. We have two triangles here, two right angle triangles, and we need to figure out something about them using something else. So it's sort of like you label what you're given and then see what you can do. Okay. So Blake and Nadia are facing each other on opposite sides of a 10-meter tall flagpole. From Blake's point of view, so you can see where Blake is, the top of the flagpole is at an angle of elevation of 50 degrees. That's labeled for you. From Nadia's point of view, it's 35 degrees. How far apart are Blake and Nadia? Okay, so the X is labeled there. Okay, and it tells us the flagpole is 10 meters tall. So it actually doesn't really matter, but we have two little lengths. So I'm going to get out my highlighter. We have this length, so sort of Blake's triangle, and then we have Nadia's length. Okay? Doesn't matter which one you solve for. So then in this case, we have two little lengths that we're going to have to add together to get to the big length. Okay? So if you struggle with figuring out what you're looking for, then what we're doing here is we're going to break this into two little triangles and then put them together to find the big length. If it only said find the distance from Blake to the flagpole, then we wouldn't have to add it together. But it says find the distance from Blake to Nadia. So we're going to do Blake to the flagpole, Nadia to the flagpole, and then add them together. Okay? And it actually doesn't matter which one you do first. So I'll do Blake to flagpole first. Okay, so actually in either case, either from Nadia or Blake, that's 10 is going to be the opposite side. And then we have the adjacent side. So if you did any of the homework, then you would have seen that many of the questions, you are going to be using tan. We don't often have to use the hypotenuse. Okay, so again, we got to get rid of the adjacent. Now we got to get rid of the tan 50. Okay, so if you want, label your picture. Okay, so now we've got part of the X, but we don't have the full X. So now we're going to do Nadia to the flagpole. Oops. Okay, so again, that 10 is the opposite. We're going to do adjacent, but this time we are doing tan 35. Okay, again, we got to get rid of the adjacent in the bottom, so we have that extra step. Okay, so 14.3. So we want to have an answer statement, and we want to have, we need X. And right now we don't have X. We have not Blake to the flagpole, Nadia to the flagpole. So X is 8.4 plus 14.3. So 22.7 meters. Therefore, Blake and Nadia are 22.7 meters apart. Okay? So when you have a word problem, even if it's a one-step one, like 8.31's like number 5, make sure you have a let statement and an answer statement and a label diagram. Okay? So good luck with that. And again, try to get caught up. I'll post the official Trig quest, the SOH